Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is a question that I get asked all the time. What tips do you have when flying with a baby? So my son is now 2 years old and he has actually been on a total of 20 flights, and the majority of those flights are long haul. There are a lot of tips online and some of them are good, some of them are not so good. So I'm just going to talk about my own tips that I figured out flying over the past 2 years with my 2-year-old. There are a total of 13 tips here, so stay tuned to the end. So tip number 1 is get your child excited about airplanes. This is something probably for the older children. I mean, when Edward was under 1 year old, I would tell him that we were going on a plane, but I mean, he didn't really know what that was, I suppose. We live by an airport at the moment and he always just wants to go outside and watch the planes go over. But it actually makes the waiting time before you get on the plane, where you're in the terminal, really good for the child, because Edward just loves looking out the window and watching all the planes go by on the runway.
I'm going on an airplane!
So tip number 2 is fly with your child before they turn 2. I've added this as a tip, even though obviously you can't control what your child's age is. Once they get over 2, you then have to pay for an adult ticket, which is so expensive. But if you do want your child to have their own seat, even though they are under 2, you still have the option to do this. Tip number 3 is take advantage of the bassinets. Basically, to use the bassinet, you need to book a seat which doesn't have anyone in front of you. Usually when you are booking online, it will say that these are usually reserved for people with young children. The first time we booked our flights, we were really worried that we wouldn't be able to get these seats, so we booked way in advance. There is that risk that you might not be able to get those seats, but even when we've booked maybe a month in advance, we were still able to get it. But just in case, try and book your flight a little bit in advance. Also, I should say for the bassinet, your baby needs to be under 11 kilograms and I think under 1 year old. Obviously, because of the length of them, they need to be able to fit in it. So tip number 4 is do not board right away. I did read an article that says to be the first people on that plane and take advantage of the priority boarding.
Because like, why do people bother going in those really big queues when you just know that you're all going to get onto the flight eventually, you're all going to get to the destination at the same time. If anything, you'll be wanting to rush off the plane, not rush on the plane.
I much prefer being the last people to get on the plane, because then you don't have to queue for ages, and once you get on the plane, if you're flying long haul or even short haul, you are going to be on that plane long enough to get your children settled in the first like 10 minutes of being on there. It's just less time for your kids to be on the plane. Number 5 is take a stroller. So before, I would always take the harness where he would be on my front, but I just find taking the stroller so much easier. Recently, that's all we've been taking because we can't carry him in the harness anymore because he's just too heavy. But I do wish I did just take the stroller before. The reason that we didn't is because we didn't actually have a collapsible stroller. We had a big pram where you had to take it apart in 2 parts, and I think for most planes they actually request that it is just a foldable with 1 button and you can just put it straight onto the plane. The good thing about taking a stroller as well is that you can use it up until you get onto the plane. So when you're checking your bags in, you don't have to check in the stroller, you can use it in the boarding lounge, which is so good. So number 6 is use reins. I actually put off buying reins for such a long time because there is this controversy about using them, but to be honest, they are just so much easier. If your child is walking and they don't want to sit in the stroller, they think they are too big for it, you can put your bags in the stroller and then you can hold your child with the reins and not have to worry about them running off and you not being able to find them. Reins are literally a lifesaver. Number 7 is choose a good carry-on bag. So in my packing video that I filmed last year, I showed I was using a duffel bag. Big mistake. These are just really annoying to carry when you have a child. You usually have to carry them on your shoulder, or you put it around you and it just keeps swinging around to the front. It is really annoying. So now I actually use a backpack, and it is so much easier. And get one that just has loads of compartments, so you know where the nappies are. It's easy just to grab one out, grab the baby wipes and go change them. Whereas with the duffel bag, I was rooting around trying to find the nappies or trying to find new clothes for him, and it was really annoying. So yeah, a backpack is just so much easier. So number 8 is don't bring powdered milk. This is something that I did for a long time, and I did actually mention it in my packing video as well. So I would take a big box of formula, his bottles, a flask which I would fill up at a coffee shop in check-in. But this is just really annoying. You have to obviously make up the formula. You have a huge flask that you need to carry around. Once you've made up the formula, you're using boiling water, so you have to wait for it to cool down. It's just really annoying, especially when you want your baby to have the milk right away. So instead, what actually you can do is just don't take anything at all airports, which I found even in Vietnam. There's a convenience store. You can buy pre-made milk, just the little cartons, and bring your bottles. You just pour it in, and then there you go, your baby's got their milk. So much easier. Number 9 is pack as many baby clothes as you can. This is especially for those people that are flying long haul. Last time I flew with Edward, he was sick a lot and oh, that was so messy. He went through quite a few changes of clothes, and just thank God that I had those with me. Also, something that I found whenever I fly with Edward, he always has at least 2 poos. So if you do actually have to deal with an explosion, at least you can get it cleaned up and they have some changes of clothes. Number 10 is give your baby a dummy or a bottle when the plane's going up and when it's coming down. And this is because babies don't know when to swallow to like unpop their ears. And number 10 is take advantage of priority lanes. So this is the lane when you come off a flight, and at most airports there are a priority lane for babies. And if you don't know where it is, usually when you stand in the normal lane, someone will come up to you and say, ah, you have a baby, come into this lane, and you are going to be 30 minutes faster than if you're waiting in that really long line. Number 12 is talk to the people you're sat with on your row. As soon as you sit down, they're probably thinking, oh, I've pulled the short straw, I'm sat with the baby. But it's just nice to talk to them and just make it more comfortable for them and for you and your baby. Because for the times that I've flown, the people that I'm sat next to usually entertain Edward, and he loves it. It's really nice, and it just makes the whole experience way easier and way more comfortable. And finally, number 13, ignore the haters. So you are going to get people rolling their eyes, huffing and puffing and talking really loudly about how inconvenient it is for them to sit near a baby. They are making it more of a problem by getting irritated by it. But yeah, the best thing to do is just ignore these people. So that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and these tips were useful for you when you're flying with your baby. I wish you the best of luck with flying. If you have any more tips, please leave a comment down below and tell me about your experience with flying, if you've ever used any of these tips, and yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.